What's up, guys? This is Christian on a very cold and windy day. Should have wore a sweatshirt, I don't know. Okay, so what I really want to talk about today is how well do you know yourself? Like, really think about this. How well do you know yourself? What are your limitations, and like how far can you take things before you really start burning yourself out, before you really start exhausting yourself? Because look at it this way. Let's say you put yourself into situations where you're not mindful of your limitations, can really screw you up in the end. I've been in situations where, let's say, I put myself in a situation where I talked to people that were detrimental to me in the past, and after I kind of cut them off, I start thinking like, well, I guess that person wasn't as bad to me as I thought before. And then I kind of bring him back into my life to go back towards that same route again, and it starts hitting me in a very negative plane, and I start getting back into those habits with that person, and it's all just very detrimental to me, like I said before. And you really have to know your limitations, and not with just people, with just life in general, because you don't want to burn yourself out. Like, you want to excel, you want to constantly improve, but never to the point where you exhausted yourself, where you kind of lose willpower, you lose motivation, and you don't want to do anything anymore. And you get into that stagnation where you just kind of stay home, play video games, just watch TV, and you kind of just like, well, I don't know, I don't want to do this anymore, it's too hard. And like, you have to really find those limitations. Like for me, my limitations are, I get too overconfident with skills that I may not even have. Like I said before, I talk to people that were detrimental to me, and I think I can handle whatever they were giving me before now because I'm better now. I don't feel that negative emotion they gave me before. Or I put myself in a situation where like I said, I'm overconfident, and let's say I go to a party and I'm like, oh, like I just start talking to people, and at one point people, like I get overexcited, I do all this stuff. Let's say I get out of my comfort zone, and I take actions where people are like, whoa, that's too much, because, you know, I like to, what's the word? I like to overblow things. I like to see how far I can really push things, and that sometimes in return is very bad for me, and it kind of destroys me, because then people are like, dude, settle down, and I'm like, ooh, I guess I have to tone it back a bit. And like you have to like realize what your limitations are. And the best way to do that is, at first you're gonna have to kind of calibrate it and see where that exhaustion point is. So you're gonna have to kind of push the limits at some point, find your exhaustion, and then kind of reiterate like, okay, so I pushed it too far here, it's gonna be detrimental to me if I do it again. And the way to overcome limitations and barriers is to slowly overcome them, not push yourself all the way at first, creating that exhaustion to the point where you do lose willpower and you don't want to do it again. And a lot of this, the reason like you do push limitations, which is a good thing, like I said, just don't overexhaust it, but like the reason why you do go back to like bad situations, like let's say I was talking about before. All right, so bad situations. You go back to bad situations with people. Why do you think you try to push those limitations? It's because it's all very much ego-based. And the ego really, the main reason for the ego is to make you feel negative and try to feed off that negativity. It's also everybody has a pain body. And in that pain body, you have things that maybe happened to you in the past that kind of make you feel negative emotions. And the pain body, what it does, it stays dormant. This is what Eckhart Tolle kind of talks about in his book, New Earth, that everybody has a pain body, and that pain body stays dormant inside of you until one day you feel this urge for negativity. That's when the pain body kind of feeds off of you, and you have very negative thoughts, very negative just thought loops that kind of suck you dry and take away energy. And that a lot of that happens through that exhaustion, because now you're more vulnerable, you're weaker, because you don't have that motivation to kind of push through. And you have to realize that a lot of the ego and your pain body gets involved in this. So the best way to do this is kind of push through, like realize you're exhausted, accept the fact that you're exhausted, and when the pain body kind of releases itself, realize it's there, because once you realize it's there, you don't really give it the strength to feed off negativity. And a lot of the ways to kind of get rid of the ego and pain body is really focusing on now, like this present moment right now. Like, do you feel this? Like, look at this. I feel the wind hitting me. It's cold. The water is hitting the shore, and this is all the moment. This is what's happening. Because when you focus on your past, whatever negativity you had in your past, that's what kind of feeds the ego and your pain body. And you start feeding into this more and more and more, to the point where you just feel depressed, you feel sad, and you really don't want to strive on, and you're feeding it more and more with that negativity. But the more you realize that it's literally just a speck in your eye. Once you get past it, once you just fully embrace what is happening now, because like, really think about it. When you're thinking about like past things, when you're thinking about the future, when you're getting anxious about the future, when are those thoughts happening? Right now. So everything you do should be focused on the now. Like, obviously you're going to have clock time. Also, something Eckhart Tolle talks about, clock time is needed because you need to know where you're going, what time you schedule things. But like, once you get rid of past and future in a very emotional, negative way, your pain body and your ego won't be affecting you. So when you do reach those limitations, when you do hit that exhaustion point, it won't hit you as hard, where you'll still have some motivation, you'll still have some willpower. So when you do push those limitations, it'll raise the bar slowly, and your limitations will be higher and higher, where you can push yourself further and further. So the more you push yourself, obviously the stronger you'll get and your willpower will build. But remember, when you do hit that exhaustion point, you will have a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative emotions that you will have to barrel through. Like I said, it's all focusing. You just got to focus on what you're doing right now. Just be totally okay with what you're doing right now, because there's no time better than being present to the moment. And like I said, it's cold, so I'm gonna start heading out. It was cool for you guys to listen, and much love, and I'll see you in the next video.